All right, boys, what are we starting this week with?
We review.
That's right,
Yay!
a wee review. This one is from Abby Bird, and it's titled Learning on the Go. It's 5 stars, so thank you very much. It says, my absolute favorite podcast. I wait eagerly for each new episode. It's always fun and educational, and it's the perfect thing to wake my brain up before 9 evil hours of retail work.
Fantastic.
I don't envy you, Abby, but thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That's a very nice review. Shall we dive into the show?
Dive headfirst into the show.
Hello and welcome to the SCI Guys, the show where we talk about the crazy, weird, and wonderful stories from the science world. I'm Corey, and as always, I'm joined by my co-hosts, Jamp and Luke Cutfer.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome to the show.
Diese Woche sprechen wir über kluge Pferde und Logenmänner. Google Translate helped me out a little bit.
This afternoon.
I got the first half of the sentence for myself. I just didn't know some of the vocabulary. Do you have any idea what we're talking about this week?
Something German?
What? Yes.
Yes, good.
It did take place in Germany.
Okay, good.
Kluge Pferd? No?
Kluge Fred.
It's a smart horse and lying men.
Smart.
Oh, this is about a horse that can do maths.
It is about a horse that can do maths.
Yes.
Or can it? That's the real question.
Can it is that's the
I'm not
ultimate
going to
question,
can it.
isn't
I've got a whole show to go on
Can
with
it or can it not?
So that's right. We're talking about the story of Clever Hans today. You
Clever
guys have
Hans,
heard a
that's
little
it.
bit about Clever Hans before, have you?
Oh, was that Clever Hands in German? Is that what you were saying?
No, I was saying smart horse.
Oh, okay. Well,
he was German.
Hang on,
so
that
I assume
entire
he's
sentence was just to say smart horse.
It's a very, very long language.
Weird.
No,
German's difficult.
the sentence was, this week we're talking about smart horses and lying men.
Okay.
But translated quite literally into German. I'm sure someone that's German
Were the
will
men
listen.
actually lying, though?
Well, this is what we're about to find out. Yeah. I don't know how much you guys have looked into this. I hope not much, because...
Not much. I remember hearing about it years ago in school, and then we talked about it a couple episodes ago.
We did, yeah. I think it was a Patreon bonus episode we talked about it.
It was as well.
Yeah, so if you want to hear about that, head over to Patreon and
check out the bonus episodes.
Check it out. One every month. So yeah, the story of Clever Hans, it started in 1891 or 1904. I've had conflicting accounts. So I'm going to go with 1891.
It's a nice number.
It's a nice number, right? That's about,
It's almost a palindrome.
Yes.
Which makes it a good number.
Makes it not a palindrome.
That's a very long way of saying it's nothing.
It's almost satisfying.
You know, I almost won the 100-meter race.
Did you?
Yeah, I didn't join
did
it,
you
but
come
I was very close to
I thought you were
winning.
going to say you came second.
No.
Well,
Also didn't win.
if you watched the 100-meter race from quite far towards the front in the crowd, then you were quite close to winning the 100-meter race. Just saying.
The thing we share in common with the person who came second is that we also did not win the race.
Yes,
That's very true.
True.
Yeah. So I basically came in second, is what I'm saying.
I mean, more or less.
In this hypothetical race.
This reminds me of that time that I won. I didn't win. I came second in a high school tennis competition because
Second.
I played one match and lost. No one else played any games.
That's
So
crazy, Corey, because I just like you, I also didn't win that tennis competition. We're so
I came
alike.
second, but I came second, which is it's a
Out of
silver
two?
medal. Actually, it's out of many. They just didn't play their games.
3. 3 is many.
At least 5.
At
Right,
least.
tell us about the horse.
The horse, yes. Well, the horse the horse didn't begin in 1891.
The one horse to rule them all.
So the story begins around about 1891, which is roughly 103 years before Luke.
Ah,
BL.
103
Yeah,
BL. I remember it
103
well.
BL.
Or do I?
It's one for the calendar. We backdate.
A few years, just a few years back. It's fine.
It's 103.
So this happened in Berlin, hence the German and the name Hans. So effectively, there was a horse named Hans, or Hans, or Hans, or however you want to pronounce it. He was trained for about 4 years by his master, Wilhelm von Osten.
Oh,
Yes,
good name.
who was a maths teacher. Yeah, which confused me about this because I don't know under which circumstances this math teacher
Sounds like a Bond villain.
acquired a horse to then teach the horse to read and write and count. It's a very
Everyone can have a hobby.
well, yeah, but it's a very big undertaking, and horses are very
Yeah.
expensive.
True.
I just feel like
Some hobbies are expensive.
your money is better spent elsewhere. Anyway, Wilhelm decided to start exhibiting Hans, like taking him on exhibitions, demonstrating his extreme intelligence to the public. So he would basically answer the questions by tapping his hooves. Yes, much like that.
Like that.
Instead of hands on
I
a
don't-
table,
I don't have hooves.
it's hooves on a surface. Yeah.
I wish I had hooves.
So he would tap with his hooves. If he wanted to spell something out, A would be 1 tap, B would be 2 taps, C would be 3 taps, and so
What
on.
an
I'm getting the
incredibly slow form of communication.
So
Well, he's a horse, Luke. The very fact that he can
if the
communicate
horse
to tall
wanted to
is...
say Z, assuming that would be 26 taps.
You're bang
But
on.
what if they lost count?
Well, what if?
Then they're
And
not
they-
as smart as
then
a
they-
horse.
They True.
What if the horse was saying? They thought the horse was saying Z because he tapped 26 times, but actually the horse was saying ah.
Help.
One would assume it was similar to Morse code, wherein there's a certain pause between
No, there
each
are
tap.
hooves. Corey,
Otherwise-
not pause.
Otherwise, you could make almost any sentence out of any taps that you wanted to make.
That's true. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Just do any number and you don't know which one.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. Just don't know what it says. Don't know why Corey finds this so
It's just the idea of a horse screaming by tapping. Very patiently just tapping. Ah!
Would the horse ever tap out the word nay? So imagine that's how a horse thinks.
What if the answers to most of the questions were no?
No.
And
Nay.
he didn't know it.
Nay.
He was
Yay.
nay.
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 No.
So, using that method, he would amaze both the general public and psychologists of the time because he could do a lot of things. I'm going to list some of the things that he could do for you. We can't do it for you now. He's dead. But he could do for
He
you.
couldn't do them for me then either. Spoilers, but he couldn't.
But he could.
You don't know.
Well, okay, he could. Look,
Depends on your point of view, Luke.
don't spoil it. But what he could do is still actually quite incredible.
Okay.
So, of some of the things that he could do, he could perform arithmetic functions. So he could do maths. He could identify colors, read and spell. He could identify musical tones, count the number of people in an audience, read a clock, recognize and identify different playing cards. He knew the entire calendar of the whole year. And also, he could apparently tell you who the composer was when he listened to a certain piece of music.
What?
Yeah.
But he's a horse.
Well, yes. He's a very...
He's a clever horse.
He's a very attentive
I
horse.
see.
Perhaps all horses are just this intelligent, but they're just aloof.
They have no
They don't
medium of
want to-
communication.
That's it. They're very smart, but they just can't figure out the tapping.
Exactly.
Maybe all the other horses are just dumb. He's just an average horse.
Yeah. Or all the other horses are so smart. He's just very, very dumb for a horse, which is why he's talking to us.
Yeah, true.
Anyway,
Or they're like the centaurs in Harry Potter, where they have a rule in their law that you can't share your knowledge with the humans. So maybe all the horses can do all this, and Super Hands or Clever Hands is like
Super
Hands,
this is
Clever
not Peep Show, mate.
is actually like the outcast of the horse community.
He's like the
'cause
Ferenz.
Exactly. He's Ferenze
Ferenze.
or Ferenz.
What a silly name for a
Ferenze.
horseman. While we're on the topic, okay, I want to air out one specific gripe that I've got about centaurs, and fawns,
No.
goat men.
Yes.
Goatmen.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
like Mr.
yeah,
Thomas.
Okay, yeah, like Mr. Tumnus.
Yes, like Mr.
Right.
Thomas. Yeah,
Mr. Tumnus has 2 legs. Centaurs have 4 legs.
they do indeed.
Why? Either both should have 4 or both should have 2.
Because they're not real.
Yeah, but it's not consistent. That's my issue. My issue is the lack of consistency. Anyway, moving on, sort it out.
It's the only lack of
Moving
consistency.
Yes, it's the only lack of
Yeah,
consistency.
The only
Lewis
flaw in an
Carroll.
otherwise perfect mythology.
You mean C.S. Lewis?
Shut up!
But Clever Hands knew that.
Damn it. He just left the room. I was racking my brains for who wrote The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and Clever Hands had gone. He couldn't tell me.
So, how do you think, off the top of your head, that this might be done? I mean, one guy is taking his horse around and saying, look, he's getting the right answers to all of these questions. How is he tricking the public?
I think
Is he telling the horse when to stop or giving him a signal?
telling it, whispering in his ear.
Hey, stop. Stop now.
This is it.
I think that the horse.
Oh my God, he got it right.
I think the horse is in some way responding to signals, non-verbal signals, on the part of the horse owner.
Okay. So if you were to take the horse owner out of the equation, that would completely solve the problem.
I think so. Yeah.
Do you both think so?
Wait,
Oh,
did he also
sorry,
do it
no,
with
the
other
audience,
people?
the
both
audience,
dead
the
wrong.
audience
Yeah.
as well.
Really?
Yeah. He's taking non-verbal signals from the person. They like make an
people.
expression like,
So-
"Wow, he got it."
Oh, that is a clever horse.
So this is the thing. So he could do it with anyone there, which is really interesting. So it wasn't a case of the sort of instructor or horse master giving him the answers or feeding him the right, when to stop.
Right.
It was a case of him being able to do it for anyone, because what happened was the sort of German education board decided, okay, we should probably look into this since there's this smart horse traipsing around the country. So they had an investigation that went into it, and they all found in 1904 they all found that no, apparently this is all above board. Nothing
Oh,
is there's
wow.
no one is
The
cheating.
education board found that this horse was definitely just really smart.
What they had
They got to a point where they were like, we have to give this horse an exam to figure out how smart it is.
it sits down, you can't hold the pencil.
Go on a laptop. Special
Just
needs.
clump all of the keys. Just tapping A 26 times.
Please, shh. Silence in the exam room.
Stop screaming.
So the education board, they didn't say that the horse was intelligent so much as they found that there wasn't a hoax.
There wasn't any horse.
No one
playing
was-
that.
Right.
Funny. Good.
Ha, ha, ha,
That's very
ha.
good.
Thank you.
It's very good. Oh my God, all this laughing. I'm going to get my my voice is going to be
Ha, ha, ha.
hoarse.
You're just adding to the problem.
As I said, 1904, German Board of Education had a commission, basically to try and find out if those claims were true or not, and they found that there was no hoax, there was no collusion, there was no horseplay, one could say. So
So the horse is the clever one in this scenario.
well, he outsmarted a bunch of people, yeah.
Because it's reacting to normal human reactions to horses doing math, I suppose. It's not like the farmer did some. Yeah, it's not like the farmer trained it to do that,
Well,
and it's just I don't know.
he did train him over a long period of time.
We thought he trained him, but he trained him to do something else.
Well, yes, but it's not like all horses can just do this.
Yeah.
He was. You can still say he's a smart horse.
Some credit goes to the farmer.
No, I mean the horse. A lot of the credit goes to the horse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ultimately,
I mean the farmer did the training, but like that's like saying
the farmer failed in his attempt to teach the horse math.
he taught him something else.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
but he did fail.
Yes, he failed in what he set out to do.
Yeah, which is failing.
But hang on.
But he achieved something else.
Yes.
Did the farmer ever try and teach the horse maths? Actually try and do that? Or did the farmer just always initially teach the horse the trick?
So
Or did he try
From
and
what
teach
I've
the
read,
horse maths
and
and,
there-
go, oh, horses can't do maths, and then teach him a different thing?
there are limited resources on this. From what limited
Sources.
there's limited kind of reliable resources on this. So from what I can tell, he taught the horse how to do this, but also presumably taught the horse maths up until this point, because you wouldn't go into it assuming that the horse knew maths,
No,
because no
you
one had ever
wouldn't.
taught the horse maths.
Yes, but
You
at
know,
no
so
point
he
in this
clearly-
trick does the horse need to know maths. That's the point.
Yeah, but he would have tried to. He was aiming to teach the horse how to do maths.
Oh,
so,
at one point he was trying
he would
to
have tried
actually
to
legitimately teach the horse maths and then gave up and taught him a trick instead.
No, he didn't teach him a trick. This is what I'm saying. So the horse, the trainer.
Hang on.
Didn't teach the horse a trick.
Did the trainer not teach him to do this? The horse just figured out how to do this on its own.
Yes, the trainer was. That's what I'm saying. There was no.
That's what he's been saying.
That's what I'm saying. There's no hoax.
That's what I mean. The horse is the clever one, ultimately.
That's amazing.
There's no.
The farmer failed in what he intended to do.
He's not a farmer. He's not a
his
farmer. He was a maths teacher.
The horse even tricked
Why do I
the
keep saying
maths
farmer?
teacher.
Because he's got a horse.
Oh, yeah.
The horse even tricked the maths teacher.
Yes, yeah.
The math teacher failed.
Wow.
The horse learned to scale and fooled everybody.
This sounds like the start of a nursery rhyme. The maths teacher failed. The horse learned a skill.
The math teacher failed and the horse learned a skill. They couldn't put Humpty together again.
So, in 1907, finally, we figured out what was going on. So, Professor Oscar Funkst, who was a biologist and psychologist, he had a really thorough study into what was going on. And he found out that the horse wasn't able to answer the question if the person who was questioning the horse didn't know the answer.
Yes.
Okay.
So obviously the horse was telepathic.
That is the most logical conclusion.
Obviously.
One could only assume.
How else would it know?
Well, how could it? It only knows if you know.
Yeah.
So it's reading your mind.
It has to.
And that is the end of the story, actually, guys. So thank you very much for listening. That's no. So the horse was not. The horse was not telepathic. Another thing that he found out was that if the horse was sort of blinkered or was hidden so that it couldn't see the person that was asking the questions, then he would also not be able to answer the question correctly. So the horse's answer of the question
That's because
depends
you're covering
entirely
up the
on
horse's third eye, man. How's it meant to be
This is
psychic?
why we have you.
Cover up its third eye. Come on. Pay attention.
So clear.
Actually, Clever Hands just did DMT once.
That's super hands, man. You're getting confused again.
Super Hands.
No, that's what they called him after he did loads of DMT.
Actually, that Michelin Web look has a sketch similar, like kind of based on. It must be based on Clever Hands. It's a man who is trying to, he's friends with a horse, and he thinks the horse is really intelligent, but the horse is just a horse. I would check it out. I assume it's based on that. Also, they named a character Super Hands in Peep Show, so I don't know. Maybe they've got a thing for horses.
That would give it away, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
that's very similar.
It's very close. Very close. Where the fuck was I? Ah, yes. So it seems that the horse is only able to answer a question if it can see someone that knows the answer, which was kind of confusing. So it turned out that the horse was actually really good at kind of reading facial signals. Apparently microscopic facial signals, things that we have not actually been able to.
Darren Brown.
Yes,
that's what he does.
Darren Brown, the microscopic facial signal.
See Clever Hands.
Wait,
Darren Brown reads microscopic facial signals. Yes, like as part of his act, as part of like how he determines whether you are like he reads your mind. Quote is to do with reading your microscopic reactions in your eyes and your face.
Interesting.
That's very interesting, because apparently that's how you tell when people are. You can tell when people are lying.
Yeah,
quite good at stuff
really
like
simple
that.
stuff like which direction you look up or down. You can look up and to the left or up and to the
I've
right,
heard this.
and they are supposedly
like the corners of
correlated.
the room.
Yeah, they're correlated with. One of them is correlated with remembering an image, and one of them is correlated with imagining an image. So if you're lying, then you're imagining a fake image to talk about. But like, obviously, that it won't be a perfect.
Is that to do with
science.
left and right brain?
But that wouldn't work at all
so,
if it was. That wouldn't work at all if it was with someone that was a compulsive liar. Then would it?
I guess because
if you're remembering an image that you previously dreamed up, then maybe not. But yeah, if you look up and to the many psychologists believe that when a person looks up and to the right, they are likely telling a lie because they're dreaming up an image, and looking up and to the left, they are recalling an image. When you look like at the same level as yourself, so not up or down, like along, then you are remembering a sound. And when you're looking down and to the left, you are having an internal dialogue with yourself. And when you look down and to the right, you're remembering, feeling, sense, or behavior. So there you go.
Wow.
Where's that coming from?
Sorry?
What's the source on that?
The Independent.
Okay.
It will be slightly slightly pseudoscientific or not a perfect science. Obviously, as any kind of psychology is, anything with humans has massive error margins. Anything with us in it. Interestingly, I assume, based on my limited level of understanding of the brain, that may be reversed in some left-handed people, because some people are left-handed because areas of their left and right hemispheres are swapped over. So you often have your language cortex and your narrator or things like this in other sides if you're left-handed.
Interesting. Well, it's not something I would say go out and believe it outright. Like if you're talking to your, let's say you're talking to your partner.
No.
Again,
and
take
you
it with
say, where have you been tonight? And they look in the wrong directions. You know.
Yeah.
But I used to have
you're
a
looking
friend,
up and to the left.
I used to have a friend who would always look up when he answered a question. We'd ask him something, my friend James, and he'd always go up. And we all noticed it separately. And then eventually we were like, James always does this, doesn't he? We're like, yeah. And he always did it. He always looked up. Strange.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Always lying.
Well, I think it will be because your area where a lot of your memories are stored is down at the base. And if
you're trying to look at the back of your brain and see
roll
it.
your eyes back.
Well, yeah. I mean, maybe not. That's sort of my weird theory about, or I have this weird theory that your eyes go to places in relation to which area of your brain is being activated. I don't know if that's actually a thing, but it's something I noticed in myself, that if I look, say, to my left, it feels like my right brain is activated. Don't know.
Are you sure that's not it could be confirmation bias? We should do a whole episode on biases.
Oh, that would be fun.
That'd be very fun.
That'd be fun.
Let's do that. I say let's do that. I'll do that.
But it sounds plausible, definitely.
Yeah, it definitely does. That's one of the things. We're not very good at knowing when people are lying, generally. So polygraph tests.
Most people are terrible at it, yeah.
Polygraph tests are one of those things that you go on Jeremy Kyle and you get told, oh, well, he was lying about kissing that person.
He did sleep with the neighbor.
Doesn't mean anything.
It's isn't it 70-something% accurate or 90-something? I don't know.
I don't know. Figure it out. Have a look.
Here we go.
But the thing about polygraph tests is that all of the things that you measure, the sort of perspiration, if they measure your sphincter, all of that stuff, how tense you are, you can fake that. You can fake it when they level it by, kind of forcing those symptoms of lying. So when you lie, it can't register that you're lying. Or you can just be very good and control all of those things.
That's true, but there was Vsauce did a documentary series about this where they had a new type of test that was more advanced than the polygraph test, where he was trying to actively pretend to react and actively remember false information, and they still found out the truth from him.
Oh, it's interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
Very interesting.
Very good.
I was right both times. The American Polygraph Association cites that a polygraph test is got an accuracy rate of above 90%. However, critics say that the tests are correct only 70% of the time.
Yeah, 90% of the time they're correct 70% of the time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's like 60% or something?
Yeah,
we'll say 68%.
Yeah, look, here's one of the things. If you're trying to figure out how accurate a polygraph test is, don't ask the people that make polygraphs.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
They're going to be a bit biased, aren't they?
They might be a little bit.
Tests are brilliant. They're like 97, 98%.
Yeah, they work all the time.
Within
Why don't you buy a
30% of
polygraph
that.
and find out? Buy one. So it turns out that this horse was actually very good at reading facial signals. And the thing is that we don't actually, we don't know very much about those facial signals at all. We've still not been able to figure out exactly what they are. Otherwise, we'd find some way to kind of stop them.
Yeah.
Not physically, but to stop them in experiment. Because obviously, if you think about this, any experiment involving people or animals is now kind of called into question. Because if the questioner knew the answer to whatever they were testing the subject on, then the subject can be influenced by that and get the right answer.
Can't also figure it out.
Well, exactly, yeah. So that does actually happen in studies with people. So I'll tell you a little bit more of the story of Hans himself, and I'll tell you about where the science went after that. So the thing about these cues is that even Funkst, the guy that figured out what was going on, he couldn't stop himself from doing it. So even though he knew 100% what was going on with the horse, if he tested the horse would still get the right answers.
Weird.
Yeah, because these are involuntary signals.
Yeah.
So, like sort of microfacial expressions that you just can't control. And if the horse is getting close to the answer, you're like, oh. And the horse is
Maybe
like,
it's
okay,
a
cool,
little
I'll stop
hijacker,
here.
isn't it? Yeah.
Exactly. So I'll tell you a little bit more about what happened to Hans, and then I'll tell you about where the science went after that. So this was all happening in the early 1900s. Then World War I happened, and Hans was drafted.
The horse?
Yes, the horse.
I guess horses are in the war. Yeah.
Yeah, have you not seen War Horse?
No, but I'm aware of the film.
But I thought they let people who are really good at some like science and maths, they let them not go to war. Why does that not cover clever Hans as well?
The horse followed in his father's footsteps and became a math teacher.
Yeah.
And therefore wasn't drafted in the war.
Yes.
The maths teacher wasn't his father.
He was a father figure.
It was essentially his father, man. Adoption is fatherhood. Fuck, man.
Not always about blood.
So rude.
Yeah, so unfortunately he didn't manage to get out of military service, and he was fighting on the side of the Germans, as well. So Hans, don't
So it didn't go well for him.
So what you're saying is this clever horse was a Nazi.
No, he was a pre-Nazi.
Oh, okay.
World War
fine.
World War I.
Okay, fine.
Well, it's not fine, but
it's not fine.
but it's not.
Yeah, no, actually, it's.
Also, I don't think the horse had a choice.
I retract my statement. No, neither did a lot of the people who were in the war, James.
True. they were still pre-Nazis.
He's a horse. So, Hans' story has a sad yet mysterious end.
Yeah, the part where he was drafted into war.
Yeah, well, he was drafted into war, and then that was in 1914, and by 1916, he was either killed in action or consumed by hungry soldiers.
Oh,
so he couldn't have been that smart.
I'd argue they could both be the same thing.
Well, I mean, yeah, I suppose.
Both could be true.
Yeah, both could be true. Which is a shame. You wouldn't want to eat a smart horse, I feel worse about it.
If you get his brains, maybe you would.
Imagine surviving battle and your own troops kill you and eat
all
you.
of the troops were mysteriously good at maths.
Nay. Can we eat you? Nay.
So yeah, Hans was killed and eaten by soldiers. So not that clever after all.
You can be eaten and still be clever.
Not me. I'm too clever to be eaten.
You're just asking to be eaten, man.
I really am, aren't I? I really hope I don't get eaten. I feel like I've got so much more to offer than a
your
nice
meat.
meal.
Really hope I don't get eaten. Corrie, 2020.
Tell me I'm wrong. So Hans didn't make it home after the war.
Was his horse wife upset that her husband didn't come back?
His
from the war?
wife, James, please.
No, he said whores, multiple.
Whoa!
Whoa.
He was a one horse kind of horse.
He's monogamous, strictly. Just one whore for me.
No, man.
Pictured the horse and Strictly Come Dancing.
He was married to maths. He was married to the grind.
Right. So, despite the fact that Hans died in action, his legacy lived on.
It did indeed. To this very day, where he got a mention on SCI GUYS.
And got accused of
the
being
biggest
a
moment
Nazi.
of his life and death. And got accused of being a pre-Nazi.
He didn't get...
He
got
a pre-Nazi.
outed as a pre-Nazi. He got accused of being a Nazi.
Accused.
Hans
we are the judge and the jury.
Cancelled.
But that was retracted. The accusation of Nazihood was retracted.
We retract the accusation because it's true.
Look, Hans's people have got very deep pockets, and
they're coming for us. We'll see them in libel court.
This is the first episode after our anniversary special, and it has deteriorated
the last topic,
so fast.
The last topic was very serious as well. It was climate change.
It was incredibly serious.
Now we're talking about a pre-Nazi horse that was good at math.
I'm glad we're...
Essentially, the Darren Brown of pre-Nazi horses.
Look, I'm glad we're getting back to the roots. Okay, I'm glad. So obviously this creates an issue. with experiments. If you want to have an experiment where you can really trust that you're not giving the answers to the subject, you have to remove socialization between yourself and the subject. But then in cases where you need to socialize with the subject for the experiment to actually happen, like in the case of Nim Chimpsky, who we covered, a talking chimp, and Alex the parrot. In those cases, you kind of need to have a social bond with the subject. So it's kind of difficult to toe that line. So, I mean, Otto Kohler was the first person to say that any face-to-face contact should be completely avoided during animal experiments. So he tried to use cameras to avoid any direct animal contact for his famous studies on different birds and how smart they were with numbers. So he basically studied how good birds were at counting, and he used video cameras instead of, chatting with the birds face to face.
Oh, this is a weird subsection of science.
Talking animals.
Animals that are involved in math in some way.
Yeah, there are a lot. I mean, we've done so many.
So many animal episodes.
Yeah, we've done a lot of animals.
What is the benefit to the world of knowing whether birds can count?
That's what I mean. It's a weird subsection
where are they
of
getting
science
this
where it's like,
funding?
Okay, right.
there probably is benefit to knowing, but what is it?
Okay, here's where the benefit is, right? You're playing out in your garden, right? You're kicking balls, you're throwing frisbees, and you notice that a few of them are stuck up on the roof. Now, you can't get up to the roof by yourself, but you don't know how many of them are up there. Call your little bird friend. Hey, fly up there, tell me how many are up there. There you go. Your bird can't count, you're screwed.
Hang on, but the bird could
That's
just bring
true.
you them instead.
It's a very small bird.
So when you find out how many frisbees are up on the roof, what do you do with that information? Do you get a bigger bird to get them?
Perhaps. I didn't think that far, Luke.
Well, to be fair, if you ever need to do a calculation and you don't have a calculator,
Why don't we ask Hans?
just whip out your trusty bird?
No, Corey, because you need to know the
ask it
answer.
some math questions.
Have you listened to your own story? My God!
So I'm sure you guys can now see the importance of studying these.
Absolutely,
Wow.
this is essential. This should be
Where do I donate?
priority number one.
You know what's hilarious is that people get funding for this.
Yeah, I know. Why?
All of the stories that
Why?
all of the stories that we've covered.
do.
The woman that tried to have sex with the dolphin.
No,
Oh,
she didn't
pilot
try and have
episode.
sex with the
Go listen to that
dolphin.
on Patreon.
Don't libel her. She did not try and have sex with the dolphin.
Okay, she didn't try to have sex with the dolphin.
Found
The dolphin tried to
dolphin
have sex
be
with her,
Distracted
accepted.
and she.
sexually, and so in order to continue her experiments, she filleted him. No,
She didn't
hang on.
fillate
No,
him.
hang on. No,
No, there was penetration.
That's too far.
No,
there wasn't.
No, there
Was
wasn't.
there not?
Okay.
No,
Let
it
me
was
say it
only
again.
hand
Let me
stuff.
try again. And so,
Right.
in order to continue with her experiments, she gave him a nice little. How do I
Flag on
say
the right.
this? She just
relieved
him of his struggles. Yes, so they could get back to work.
Of his primal.
And then he
purpose.
fell in
Didn't
love
work
with
though,
her.
did it?
They were separated, and he killed himself. It's very sad.
And then he went off to fight in the war as a dolphin.
No,
No, no.
Imagine
He
if
was
we
killed.
found out that World War I was fought mostly by dolphins.
They had no submarines. We
Not
just
even-
found out they had no submarines, so they used dolphins instead.
Against dolphins or dolphins on both
I think
sides?
dolphins on both sides.
Dolphins on both sides.
There's good dolphins on both sides, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, you know.
Jesus Christ. So yeah, so a lot of different experiments have had to deal with this effect, the clever hands effect. In fact, you'll probably have heard it in previous episodes when we were talking about animals and their intelligence. But unfortunately, there's not really any way for us to get around this with some experiments because we just don't know exactly what it is that we're doing. So this kind of ties in as well with, say, professional poker players who use a poker face because they know about the unwitting clues that they might be giving out. Which is why you might find that someone is very good at poker because they're very good at keeping their face completely devoid. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Gaga was right.
Gaga was right.
Gaga is the genius. So I'm going to tell you guys about double-blind studies. Do you know what those are?
Yep.
Weirdly, no. I don't think I do.
It's not that
But
weird.
they sound really familiar.
Yeah, well, we've spoken about them every
Oh,
time.
yeah.
Where not even the scientists know which participants are doing
Of
what.
course. course, that makes sense.
Basically, it means on both sides, no one knows what's going on.
Yeah.
So you don't know what the correct answer to the question is, or you don't know if you're asking, say, a rat to find something in a maze. You got no idea where it is.
Mm-hmm.
So
they send Mad Eye Moody out into the maze to place it there.
That was the most pointless reference to Harry Potter.
You knew.
Oh wait, yeah, because
how my
I
mind
see,
operates.
because he did place it in the maze.
Well, technically not Mad Eye Moody, but
no, it was Barty Crouch. That's why I got confused. I was
spoiler
like,
alert.
whoa, it did come out.
That basically just came out. Really
16 years ago.
Yeah.
16 years ago, Luke? When was it? This isn't important.
I don't know. 2007, I think.
So double-blind studies basically kind of try to prevent your results from being influenced by things like the placebo effect and observer bias. And basically, it's kind of a way to try and get around the clever hands effect.
Clever.
So as I've said, basically the investigator and the participant, neither of them know what's going on. They don't know what the right answer is, so they can't be influenced by potentially getting close to the right answer. And it's a pretty good way to do it. It's what a lot of people do for a lot of things nowadays. And it's kind of silly to me that we didn't figure this out beforehand. This is something I feel like we should have been hot on.
Yeah, we should have picked up on this a bit earlier, shouldn't we?
Yeah, we probably should have done. And still nowadays, though, I say still nowadays. So still, in more recent years, this is kind of neglected, or can be neglected, and it can result in potentially misleading results. So there was a study done on elephants that had the same error as in the clever hands case. So they figured out that these elephants apparently counted differently to Weber's law, which is effectively, what that means is that the ability of any animal, including humans, to discriminate between two quantities is a function of their ratios rather than the absolute difference between them. Do you get what that means?
Yes.
Yes?
So it means your ability to determine the difference between two different quantities is about how different the quantities are from each other rather than the amount of difference between the quantities in numerical terms.
So it's far easier to tell 1 from 2 when it's the same difference as there is between 101 and 102.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so you can...
That makes sense.
Yeah, you look at 101 and you're like, I have no idea how many that is. Whereas if you look at, say, 100
90 versus 100 or something, yeah.
Yeah, so it's the difference. Okay, it's the difference between, say, 100 and 200 compared to 101 and 100 and 1 and 2 and all of that stuff. Basically, it's ratios rather than actually counting the differences between them. So apparently, they found that elephants could tell the absolute difference.
Wow.
So what that would mean would be that elephants would be able to tell the difference between 101 and 102 as easily as they could tell the difference between 1 and 2.
That's really interesting because that suggests that, like, so for example, when you go and visit some tribes, they don't have names for like individual numbers. They just have like 0, 1, and more than 1, for example. Or they might have 0, 1, 2, and more than 2. And that's probably a factor of the fact that our brains aren't wired immediately to be based on numerical things. They're based on like the scalar. It's scalar instead of numerical. Yeah. Whereas elephants have a basis in their brains to understand and decode amounts, absolute amounts.
So bear in mind, this is due to the clever hands effect. So elephants can't actually do this.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So totally they're just better at...
No, they're just reading people.
Yeah. Elephants are good at reading people.
They're just better at reading people, isn't it?
Yeah. So basically, they couldn't do this at all. To be 100% clear, elephants count the same way that everything else counts.
Okay.
Right.
I was going to say that's incredible.
They just knew what the... Yeah, it sounds like groundbreaking results. But it turned out
because
that...
they neglected the clever hands effect.
Yeah, so they repeated the experiments where neither the experimenter nor the elephant trainer knew any of the information, and it just fell apart because elephants count the same way that everything else counts.
Yeah.
And it's just a clear indication of the fact that we should really be paying attention to the clever hands effect even now, because it's not something that just goes away over time. It's absolutely something that we can we have an issue with even when we know about it. So we need to take every kind of so we need to take, that's important. Yeah. So we need to take every precaution to avoid it. Otherwise, we'll just skew all of our results. So that is the episode for today.
Wow.
Start to finish. Yeah. How do you feel? Do you know a lot more
I feel
about
enlightened
horses?
on Clever Hands about this horse that I was vaguely aware of most of my life.
You can find the full references for this episode in the description. Subscribe for new episodes every Monday. And why not leave us a nice wee review? You can also support the pod at patreon.com/SCI Guys, or find contact us at SCI Guys Pod on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, or send us an email at sciguyspod@gmail.com. I'm not Corey everywhere.
I'm Jamkin everywhere.
I'm Luke Cupboard everywhere. Goodbye.
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 Am I extremely delayed?
Ah!